Our next special guest is our keynote speaker, His Excellency Ambassador John Silk, Permanent Representative to the Republic of the Marshall Islands to the United Nations. Please help me welcome His Excellency Ambassador John Silk.
Yahweh to all of you. Yahweh, our greeting in the Marshall Islands, the word we use all the time, every time when we meet people. Yahweh. Let me first take this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of some of our distinguished guests. I know in front of us here is His Excellency the Ambassador of Kiribati to the United Nations, Ambassador Tito. And I may miss some of the other excellencies who are here, but to all of you, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for honoring us with your presence this afternoon. I bring greetings of Yahweh from the people and government of the Republic of the Marshall Islands on this important day in the history of our country and lives of our people. March 1st today, and each and every year, has been set aside by our government as a day to commemorate, pause, reflect upon, and contemplate the causes and effects of 67 nuclear devices that were detonated within our waters, over our islands and atolls, and our airspace. While this date is important, it must be remembered that the first nuclear refugees and nomads were forcibly removed and relocated to other parts of the Marshall Islands. These were the people of Bikini in 1946 and the people of Eniwetok in 1947 to make way for the United States to conduct the testing on these two atolls. It is important to consider the decisions to undertake nuclear weapons testing in the context of those times and institutions. It is easy to get frustrated at the United Nations. But if you look deeper, you may realize that the same institutions which had failed the Marshallese people also gave us the ability to protest and advocate. The first civilian UN High Commissioner of the Trust Territories of the Pacific Island was a person named Albert Thomas, a former US Senator from the state of Idaho and a Democrat, who had served in the United States Senate until 1950. He was an internationalist and interventionist, and drew closely upon his service in the 1930s as a missionary in Japan. He was horrified of the effect of the atomic weapon in Hiroshima and made radio broadcasts in Japanese, warning people to avoid Nagasaki and urged their surrender, the Japanese surrender. These memories of atomic impacts in Japan carried over into his service as the first UN High Commissioner. When High Commissioner Thomas unexpectedly passed away in 1953, then a young student, Dwight Heine, commemorated and said he brought a better understanding between our people and the United Nations. He is a living example of what the United Nations stand for, close quote. No doubt, the High Commissioner's actions had a lasting impression on Dwight Heine, who became the first Marshallese district administrator for the Trust Territory. Perhaps Thomas's advocacy influenced this young man then in 1954, because he was one of those first Marshallese to champion and petition the United Nations Trusteeship Council to halt the nuclear testing. The message today is that the United Nations Trusteeship system ultimately failed in its responsibility to safeguard the well-being of our people, but it also offered a pipeline of advocacy, concern, and relief. Both visiting UN trusteeship delegations from New York and UN trusteeship administrators and staff would frequently raise concerns about testing impacts upon our people. It didn't stop testing, but the UN platform was vital in ensuring that we were not ignored or disregarded. Last year, President Heine called for the United Nations for an apology for nuclear testing impacts. As you know, we petitioned the United Nations to halt these testing. The trusteeship resolutions in 1954 and 1956 are the only times any UN organ authorized the specific detonation of nuclear weapons with devastating consequences. Our Marshallese petitions to all the testing were disregarded, but our safety and compensation was assured. Larger politics and not local communities blinded decision makers. The most important aspect of this day are the direct voices and agency of our closely affected communities. We are not passive victims, and our perceptions and fears are just as important as the science which sits behind it. Before I closed, I would like to make reference to the statements given by Pastor Paul. I know Pastor Paul's father. We were young men on the island of Ibai. I was born in 1956, and I was alive then when the testing stopped in 1958. Paul gave us some very, very important message. The message is, and always will be, remember the past. Protect the future. Not for Paul and myself, but generations of Marshallese. Furthermore, let me add to what Paul said. I have grandchildren from Bikini and also from Eniwetok. So I have a daughter who was married to a Bikinian and born children who are from Bikini. And I have a son who was married to an Eniwetakese and have children from Eniwetok. Both of these children, all these children have never been to Eniwetok or the Bikini. I was privileged that I have been in my lifetime as an employee of the government and at just one time a translator for some lawyers that came out to the Marshall Islands to work with the people of Bikini, people of Eniwetok, people of Rongelap, and people of Utrecht. And I've been privileged to go and visit all of these islands. And one of my visits was to the island of Bikini a few years ago. At that time, I had a granddaughter who was 2 years old, from Bikini. And she, when I came back, she asked me, Grandpa, what does Bikini look like? I said, Bikini is a beautiful island, just like the rest of the Marshall Islands. Sandy beaches, fish swimming all over the place, coconut crabs climbing up the trees, brushes all over the place. Beautiful. And she said, well, why can't we go back? I couldn't give her a correct answer then because she was 2 years old. So I couldn't really explain why. Now she's in college. She'll be graduating next year from the University of Hawaii. And she's majoring in psychology. She has finally found the answer herself. Not that I had to explain to her, but she found the answer herself. And that's the important message we also must take, that regardless of what happened in the past, we must pursue and embed in our education, in our children, education. That education is the key that would answer all of our questions about why this took place. What can we do to improve and make it better for all of us and the generations to come? So I again want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for showing up, for coming to this occasion. And I particularly want to thank the organizers, the MEI, this group of young men and women who have dedicated their life to preaching the message to all of us. So on behalf of the government and people of the Marshall Islands, thank you for sharing with us and for your willingness to come here to New York. And as rightly been said, this is the first time that this kind of activity has been brought to the United States, to the United Nations, right across from the United Nations. So hopefully, in the coming years, we at the embassy will work with you or whoever comes that we could promote this even better than this year. But again, congratulations to these young men and women. And congratulations, thank you all for coming. God bless you. And may I also thank you, the organizers, and also this beautiful church, the church community, for allowing us to use their facilities this time of for this afternoon. God bless you all, and God bless the Marshall Islands.